You probably heard that companions were once part of the game, and that there's proof of that within the game's code.
I have never followed floating candles into the Forbidden Forest, but I have spent a bit of time here.
But what if I told you that there are a dozen of cutout things from Hogwarts Legacy, ranging from spells, animations, and full-blown mechanics that never made it into the game, but have a good chance of reappearing in Hogwarts Legacy Sequel? In this video, we're going to take a look at 10 of these cutouts. Quick disclaimer, all of these finds were made by the fans who were having fun with the game's code on PC, and while some files are pretty obvious of what they are, still, this is stuff found on the internet, so take everything here with a grain of salt. We all remember the scene with Poppy in Fire and Vice, where we witness a small fight between the dragon and poachers, but apparently there were plans to let us battle different dragons in the game. In this footage, you can see how the player was able to spawn Green Welsh Dragon and have a small fight sequence with him. The dragon has all types of fighting animations and actions performing here. You can even see the health bar of the dragon. There are other dragons too, like Hebridean Black and Hungarian Horntail. Though due to the fact of how invasive making these dragons spawn is for the game, there's of course a lot of lag and crashing. But this ultimately shows how the developers had some bigger plans for the dragons in the game, and we might see them fully realized in the next one. Floo powder animations. Remember this phrase?
I've always said that travel broadens the mind.
Since launch, the player have fast traveled over 1.5 billion times. Surely that phrase got imprinted into everyone's brain. But the fast travel, exit, or arrival wasn't always meant to be that simple. In fact, there was supposed to be an animation of us both sprinkling some floo powder and engulfing in green flames as we ascend and descend. Who knows, maybe in Hogwarts Legacy 2 we will get some of those animations working. Quidditch is one of the most desired activities that fans want to see either as Hogwarts Legacy DLC or in the sequel. And there are chances for both of those things happening because within the current game there are actual animations of the main character catching a snitch and swinging the beater's bat. This shows how the developers were actually trying to make Quidditch happen in Hogwarts Legacy, but perhaps due to the fact of how complicated the system would have to be, they had to prioritize other aspects of the game instead of putting a half-baked Quidditch. And let's be honest here, if they would have put a half-baked, super buggy and clunky Quidditch in the game, that would have been the biggest headline of every single gaming news outlet, which would ended up overshadowing anything positive about the game. So I think that was a smart move, and now they have plenty of time to work on Quidditch and possibly bring it to the sequel. Through the progress of the game, we learned a lot about the backstories of many characters, including Professor Fig, Sebastian, Nat Sion-I, Ominous, yet we haven't learned anything about our main character's past. And here we might have a little solution for this. It appears that it was considered to let us choose our own blood status, socioeconomic status, and birth season. And actually that pairs well with what the developers were telling us about the game. This is your journey. It's not Harry's, not Dumbledore's, it's purely you, the player. So with that, we might never actually know our backstory because it's whatever the player wants it to be. It's not the past, but the future what matters. And I like that, kinda. This gives more freedom to the developers when creating stories for the next games. When we first got ourselves a look at the gameplay of Hogwarts Legacy, we were told that we're going to be able to befriend some of the students and have them accompany us in our adventures. Obviously, that feature was scrambled, possibly at the very last minute, because there are ways you can make certain NPCs follow you, but also they all have recorded dialogue that gets triggered in many different side missions. Take a look.
To find the tomb near Brockburrow and place Samantha's family crest on a sarcophagus there.
We need to find the tomb near Brockburrow and place Samantha's family crest on a sarcophagus there.
I was not expecting to find a troll here.
Although I shouldn't be surprised.
Following floating candles into the Forbidden Forest? Well then, after you.
I adore the Forbidden Forest, full of an amazing array of creatures. We should get a whole new perspective on them by candlelight.
These are some very specific lines commenting on the details of different quests. Moreover, when looking at the code files, it looks like there were different bonding levels between the characters ranging from neutral, friendly, to hate, and companion. Who knows what was the reason behind pulling the plug on this awesome feature, but fingers crossed and we'll get it in the next game. The spell list in Hogwarts Legacy is pretty good. There's a great variety of different spells with various effects and applications, but actually there were more spells considered for our arsenal, including Expecto Patronum, Finfire, Finite Incantatum, Apogno, Confundo, Confringo Maxima, and many more. In this clip, made by Roxy Says Pew, you can see the MC casting Fire Tornado, aka Finfire, though it does look a bit clunky and unfinished, and she was able to perform some other spells like White, Stupefy, and Confundo. So hopefully we will get that Fire Tornado and all other spells working beautifully in the future. Maybe we'll even get the Orb of Water. Now this is entering some heavy artillery. When exploring the surrounding areas around Hogwarts, we were free to walk into anyone's house and steal all of their money, clothes, and wand handles, but that wasn't always supposed to be the case. Based on some files found by GrandTheftDiamonds, at a certain point, a version of a crime system was considered in Hogwarts Legacy, which made breaking into NPC's house, pickpocketing, and stealing cause some reaction in NPCs and possibly in the overall standing of our character in the game. Moreover, it looks like there was some sort of crime system that would keep track of players' activities and would affect players' progression, including house points. The house point system is a common practice at Hogwarts. Do good stuff and you'll be rewarded points. Do bad stuff and you'll have them taken away from you. At the end of each school year, the house with the biggest amount of points wins a house cup. In Hogwarts Legacy, we obviously didn't have this system. However, judging by some of those files found by the fans, there was supposed to be both house points and a morality system. You can even activate some of the animations that were made for those mechanics, like here, where you have students cheering next to the giant hourglasses, with Gryffindor, in this case, having its hourglass full. To be honest, I couldn't care less about the point system, so if it doesn't make it in the future games, I'm not gonna cry about it. However, a well-fledged morality system would be much appreciated. There are only a few code names and files that indicate that there was some morality system, but its full concept we will never know unless it makes its way into the sequel. Based on the viewers' feedback and requests for the future, ROMACE is one of the most desired features in the game, and actually it was considered for the current game too. Among some of the files, you can see some indicators of what the developers were working on while implementing gift giving, likeness, and even flirting. Well, I don't know if that's flirting though. Maybe that's the reason why they cut out the whole feature. But while I liked the romance system in Assassin's Creed games, I don't know if I really need that in Hogwarts Legacy. But even if it does make it to the sequel, I hope we'll never get to flirt like this. Before we get to number 1, here's a couple of bonus cutouts. Scrapped multiplayer. In 99.9% of multiplayer games, we're able to chat with other players in real time, thanks to the proximity system. And there are some vague indicators of the system to be in the game, though that could be also meant for the NPCs. However, those who have made the multiplayer mods for Hogwarts Legacy stated that without the scrapped version of a multiplayer within the game, these mods wouldn't be possible. There's a character model of a young Professor Sharp available for activation within the game's code, possibly indicating a cutscene we never saw. Some file names and animations have indicated that it would be possible for our main character to get intoxicated after drinking too much butterbeer, but those files could easily be for NPCs only. Number 1. Sitting. I remember the good old days when we were getting little bits and pieces of information in the game from Chandler's Twitter account, like jump or swim, and we all were waiting for one of those tweets to be sit. Unfortunately, that never happened. Nevertheless, those animations are available within the game's code, and as you can see in these clips made by one of the fans, you can have your main character sit in many different seating areas around the map. Not sure why this particular feature was cut out, but regardless, It is interesting to see that the developers were considering all of these features for the game, but because of lack of resources and time, they decided to scrap them. And I really appreciate that they chose to cut all these unfinished features and mechanics, because I'd rather finish the game with the feeling of wanting more instead of wanting less from all the bugs. But if you want more talks about the future of Hogwarts Legacy, there are videos on your screen right now. Thank you guys for making it all the way back to the end of the video. Don't forget about the liking and subscribing buttons that are available to you for free. But for now, keep snowing. What? Alright, take care guys.